Guess I'm just going to wait for people to roll in. I don't know how many people are going to show up for this. I know a couple said they wanted to watch. The music isn't too loud. I don't know how sensitive this camera is. Oh, hey, beautiful. Why does my thing say, okay, there it goes. Shows 2 people up now. Oh, I don't know how many people are going to show up in here, but I guess we'll get started now. So we are going to be at least starting the valve adjustment on the ZX6 tonight. I've already got it torn down to the point where we're going to start showing the important bits. Got the valve cover off. It's right there. Already pulled most of the other important components to get to it. Airbox, fuel tank, fairings, radiator. I like to get all of that stuff off and out of the way before actually getting to it. It's the skeletal system. But I was also looking at, it was doing something weird also. I was going to look at it while I was in here. This is the gear position sensor. Just goes right in there. And as the shift drum moves, why don't I remove the gas tank thing to have more space to work on it? What gas tank thing? Gas tank is off, my dude. It reads these little points here, and then it gives you your gear indication on the cluster. Well, that was like just going crazy. Some gears wouldn't show, and then others would switch back and forth. The frame? Remove the frame? I don't know what you mean. Remove the frame to do the valve adjustment? I can get into it just like that pretty good. But sometimes those contacts get dirty. It might need a sensor. It might need the sensor for the gear indicator. But I'm going to try cleaning the contacts. And then we'll see what it does from there. Oh, remove the frame. I mean, you're completely disassembling the bike at that point. Yeah, so that's something I'm going to do later. But I will show you now what we're going to get into. So, valve cover's already off. And I like to pull the radiator so you can get at it from both sides. It just makes it a lot easier. But basically what we're measuring is going to be the shim buckets. So, actually, let me get my ratchet here. There's a little keyway in here where you can crank the engine over. I am going to pull this cover off so that I can mark the timing chain and everything. You can move right here. You're rotating the engine over. So that's where you want it to measure. It has to be on the base circle of the cam. When this lobe of the cam goes down to the shim bucket under there. Let me get my flashlight. You can see where that hits. That goes, the valve spring and the valve is under that, and that actuates the valve. And then there's a shim adjuster under there that basically controls the clearance. So as the valve seats wear, it gets tighter, and then you basically want to put a thinner shim in there to make the clearance back to where it should be. So we got to measure, there's 16 valves, so we got to measure every clearance, and we're going to write out our chart here. That's my parts list that I started. But we're going to make our chart, and we're going to measure every clearance. And then once we get all the clearances measured, we're going to pull these cam caps off, pull the camshafts out. We have to pull the timing cover off, mark our timing chain, make sure all that's good. And then we can do our math. There's a whole math thing you got to do to figure out what shims you need. Then we change them, put it all back together. So it's not all going to be done in this live stream, but I'm just going to kind of show you the basics of it, I guess. And if you don't know how to get the bike down to this point here, you probably shouldn't be doing a valve adjustment anyway, because that would probably be a little bit out of your skill set. But if you can get it to this point, maybe it's something that you can do yourself. So I guess we will get started. Let's see if I can set the camera up somewhere where it will show what I'm doing here. Wrong way. So sorry if this is boring for anyone. This is kind of just what I do. And for the people that want to see it, I'm going to show them. Okay, so we're going to start off. Just going to do it like this. I'm going to go halfway down here. I really need a better pen. But, you know, that's how it goes. Pens are shitty. I guess. Is the music too loud, guys, or is the music okay? Can y'all even hear the music in the background? I hope it's not too loud. Wait, am I doing this right? Yes, I'm doing this right. It's a little bit loud. I'll turn it down just a little bit. How's that? I know the microphone is like super sensitive. All right, so to do is, this is cylinder 1, cylinder 2, cylinder 3, cylinder 4, and we're going to point forward. That's forward. Bike is front of the bike is this way. And then on the front side, you have your exhaust valves. And on the back side, you have your intake valves. So that's how we're dividing that there. And if I am correct, yes, there are, I was tripping out there for a second. Yes, there are 2 valves, 2 intake valves and 2 exhaust valves per cylinder. So and then, am I doing this right? I'm tripping out right now. Right, 2 exhaust, 2 intake. That's right. So we're just going to do this E for exhaust and I for intake so we don't get messed up. And I'm sure they have pre-printed charts you can actually download and print, but this is how I did it last time, and I guess that's how I'm doing it this time. Okay. Sounds like music's good now. And just so we can delineate better, we're going to do fat marks dividing the cylinders. So we're going to write down, we're going to measure it now, and we're going to write down our measurements. This is going to be in thousandths of an inch. And then you'll need to look at the spec and then see where you want it, where you need to be. You need to add or subtract to get the measurement of shim you want. Then you got to order your shims. Go from there. So, and the way that I like to do this, orientation locked on the phone, is when I disconnect everything up here, see how I leave everything connected. I just like to leave everything connected and kind of fold it back and sit it there so these coils are in position for where they're supposed to go. So you can see here how this is supposed to look. It's going to correlate to where the measurements are there. So we'll put this down here. So our feeler gauge is right here. Let me see if I can put the phone up on something to set it down. Oh no, what happened to my music? I don't know why I did that. Okay. You know what? I'm going to put the lift up real quick. Actually, I'll show you all that. This lift's pretty cool. I bought it for my buddy friend, coworker. for like $400. It's an old pneumatic motorcycle lift from the 80s. I have this old shitty oilless air compressor that's loud as fuck. So excuse me when it comes on because it's going to be loud. And this valve, this foot valve is old as shit. And it doesn't work very well. All right, there we go. Grab my stool real quick. And I believe the spec on the valves was, what was it, like 0.008 to 0.0012 on the intake and a little bit bigger on the exhaust side. No, I don't want to use these. These are my good ones. I'm going to take them out to, they're going to have to get bent up for this job, so I need to go get, there's my old set right there. But I don't need to look up the specs right now because I'm just measuring. So I'm going to take these apart and pull out the ones that I need to make it easier. And then you can stack these feeler gauges together to make it easier to get your measurements. But you have to do that sometimes. So we're only going to need up to like 0.018. So these other ones I can just sit over here because I'm not going to need them. And I measured one of them before and it was pretty tight. It was at like 0.005, I think. But I'm just going to get these. There's 0.004, 5, 3, 2, 8, 9. Put those there too. What is this? 0.010. That's pretty big. 0.0015. Okay. So these ones over here, we know for sure we don't need. These other ones we might need. Here's our feeler gauges we got. And I just took them off to make it easier. So, okay. And you can rotate the engine to a certain spot and it'll give you, top dead center. And then you'll be able to measure certain ones. Or you can just rotate it over until you look and see which ones are at base circle. And I can see that this one right here is at the base circle right now. So I'm going to go ahead and measure that one, which that is the very outside exhaust or intake on number 4. Man, I really should get a better thing to set this phone up, but it's kind of kind of difficult with what I got going on here. Let me see. Can I do that? That would be good if I could get the phone to stay there. If I set it up. Let's see. That's not going to stay. If I set it up back here. But you can't. Can you see anything there? No, you can't really see the engine. There we go. Look at that. All right, so I'm going to start with 0.005. And actually, the lift is just a little bit high, so I'm going to drop the lift down just a hair. There we go, that's better. All right, so there we go, it's our 0.005. And just want to slide it in. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and bend this one because this is my set of feeler. Ooh, wow, I locked it. Yes, okay, it's locked. Heard something shift there for a second. Safety first, guys. This is my cheap set of feeler gauges that I don't care if I bend them up, so that makes it easier to get in. Ooh, that one is tight. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and pull this valve cover gasket off just to make it easier first. So you'll see this here. And those have there we go. Those have RTV sealant on them. So when you go back with the new valve cover gasket, you'll need to put a thin layer of RTV on those to hold them in good. I wonder if I can turn the flash on this. There we go. Look at that. Show you what I'm doing here. There we go. Okay. I got one of those loose. I'm going to get this other one loose here. And I'm putting a new gasket on here because this one was leaking anyway. So I'm not too concerned about destroying this. If the gasket was still good, probably would just leave it in place and work around it. But since I know I'm replacing it anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and get it out of here. There we go. And there's going to be those half moons on the other side too. Ain't she pretty? Look at that. Same thing on this side. This one came out a little easier. There we go. Okay. Man, this would be easier if I had like one of the newer GoPros that has internet and everything. I could just put a helmet on. Could just roll with me like that. Okay. There's our old valve cover gasket. Okay, so I'm going to show you actually what I'm doing in here. if I can get the camera oriented in the right spot. And it keeps saying, oh man, I was probably fucking with you guys, having it sideways like that. Sorry about that. I kept saying orientation locked. So, and the feeler gauge, it should be, it should slide under there, but be snug. That is that doesn't fully want to go under there. If you can see how I'm sliding that in, that's 0.005. So that doesn't want to go in. So these valves are pretty friggin' tight then. So, okay. You'll still see there. You're back. Maddie, are you at work right now? You're still at work, aren't you? You're at work watching my live stream. I appreciate it though. Okay, 0.004. Okay, that one went under there easy. Oh, you're at home now. Okay. So, okay. You can see, is my flash on? There, now my flash is on. 0.004 slid. There you go. Now, there you go. You can see. It's hard to get a good angle so you can see. It slid between the valve shim bucket and the base circle of the cam really easily. So that's 0.004. Oh, wait. And that one corresponds. Stop doing that. And so we're going to write at the top what our measurement is at the top of each box. We're going to write what the measurement actually is, and then later on you'll do the math and you'll write down here what you want the measurement to be, and then you'll do the math and figure out with what shim you take out, where you want it to be, what the shim needs to go back in is. But we're doing this in thousandths of an inch. So that's our measurement for that valve shim right there. And then while we're in here, we'll look and see, are there any others that are already at base circle of the cam? And it doesn't look like any are. That one right there, rotated just slightly. Oh, I think that's the wrong way. There we go, okay. And there we go. Base circle of the cam is facing all the way up now. So the last one was 0.004, so I'll just grab 0.004 and 0.005. Those are at. Now that's why I like to take the radiator out, is because you can get in right here. It's a pain in the ass otherwise. I don't really know how you would do it, honestly. Where's my flashlight? See if y'all can see that. Okay, 4 went in pretty easily. Five went in pretty easily, so it's going to be bigger than that. So I'll get, but that's the exhaust side, so that's going to be a bigger measurement anyway. I have, should have 7 here somewhere. Or maybe I don't have a 7. No, I got 7 right there. Grab 7 and 8. You can see that. Probably not. 7, and I've got 8 as well. I'm just going to start with 8. Okay. Got 8 bent. And 8 does not want to go in, so we'll go to 7. That's 7 bent, and again, you can get these sets of feeler gauges for pretty cheap. I think I bought this set for like $12 on Amazon, and that way, okay, 7's a little bit too tight as well. So let me grab 6. What was I saying? That way, I mean, they're pretty cheap, so that way you don't really have to worry about bending them up if you destroy them. Kind of disposable in that way. 0.006. I don't see it here anywhere. There we go, 0.006. Okay, 0.006 right there. Okay, 6 barely went in. No, there we go. Some oil on it. 6 goes in. Okay, so that was 0.006. People asking people's age in the chat. I'll leave that up to Maddie if she wants to disclose her age. That's pretty funny. Wait. Okay, yeah. All right. One thing to note, I just screwed up on noting, so that's my bad. But let me show you all this here. What am I saying? 2 cam lobes for each set of intake or exhaust valves per cylinder. So you see, damn, this light is bright. That's one right there. And that's one right under there. You're going to have 2. When they come up, you're going to have 2 at the exact same spot at each one. So like, when this is up here, these 2 are going to be in the exact same spot at each time. These 2 here, these 2 here, you see how they match? So when you rotate the engine over and you get one there, you can measure the 2 there. So I'm going to go ahead and measure that other one there. And again, like I said, there's in the service manual, you can look at the timing marks and like rotate it over and get it to one. It'll tell you, put it at this spot, and then you can measure so many valves that are in this position or whatever. But I don't like all that. That's a little too complicated because you can't see the timing marks very well. And on these bikes, you're going to be taking it apart to make, you're really going to kind of make your own timing marks when you take it apart anyway. So this excuse me, 0.006 went in there. And I hope I'm explaining this right for the people who are actually watching this that want to know how to do this in depth. Okay, that one's 0.006 as well. That. So there you go. Facing up that way, cylinder 1, 2 valves of the front, 0.006. And that's basically how you're going to go for measuring all these valves. Now I'm going to do, I had already measured this one at the back here, so I'm going to go ahead and measure the other one I forgot to do. It's been a hot minute since I've done this. I think last time I did this was on my buddy's 750 when he had just bought it. Last year, literally right around this time. It was like right around this time that I did the valve adjustment on his last year. So, and that was my first valve adjustment on one of these bikes, but it's basically the same on Japanese import cars, which is what I work on for a living. Just 0.04 there. That one went in easy. So I'm going to take 0.05. See if that one goes in. And 0.05 does not want to go in, so that is 0.004 on that one. Oh. I wonder how many people have moved through the chat so far. Ed got me confused. Okay, so rotate engine again. Now we've got this other camshaft here. Let's see, I guess I'll start with 5 thousandths again. Let's put these in order so that it's not confusing. Okay. And some of these are going to be kind of difficult to get to, but that's why you bend them up and you get the, don't buy a really expensive set of feeler gauges, just buy a cheap set. And it's looking like all these on the intake side might be at 4,000. No, that one's at, wait, that was 4, 5. That was at 5. Let's see, 6. Let's see if this one goes to 6. Nope, that one's at 5 thousandths. But I guess most of the intake valves are going to be right around 4 and 5 thousandths. I'll look at the spec once I get them all measured and see what the spec is. Like this one right here is going to be kind of, I'm probably going to measure this one from this side up in here. Yeah, it's easier to get to there. It's 5. Yeah. 6 doesn't want to go in. So that one's 5 as well. So let's see this here. Right there. So you might want to get some of these. This is the intake side. You might want to get some of these from the opposite side. So they're a little bit easier to reach. There you go. Okay, we're going to rotate the engine again. Like I said before, the service manual will tell you to line up the engine with the timing marks and measure a certain amount of cylinders at a certain position. But really what you're looking for is you're looking for the base circle of the cam. The base circle of the cam is the opposite of the lobe. So your clearance is going to be between the base circle of the cam and the valve shim bucket underneath it. And as long as you're doing that, you're fine. So you can just rotate the engine over, make sure the cam lobe is pointing, the engine's at an angle, but you want it pointing 12 o'clock to the engine. So, okay, we got that one up there now. Now, I didn't measure this one yet. I think 5 wants to go in there. 5 is tight on that one. So we'll go with 4 thousandths. 4,000 slides in easily on that one. And take a little bit of engine oil. Put a little bit of engine oil on the feeler gauge, just to make sure you're not getting a false reading. And yeah, it does not want to slide in. So that one's 4 as well. And then I'll take its same one on this side. 4 goes in. Go to 5, see if 5 goes in. Ooh, maybe 5 might want to go in. Come from the other side. Five goes in. Some of these you got to do it a couple of times. Get it from a couple. If it doesn't want to go in, try from another angle. Because sometimes they will go in, but that's the angle you're trying to get it in at. It doesn't want to slide in that way. And 6 is kind of wanting to go in on this one, but not quite. So we'll call that one 5 thousandths. Because 5 did go in. And 6 didn't quite want to. Four people in here now. Wonder how many people have come and gone through here so far. I have just a tiny little YouTube channel. And if I'm being honest, I don't really think my content's all that interesting. There's a lot better riders, a lot riskier riders than me. I kind of just make the videos that I want to make. And some people like it. But really, my channel is just for kind of documenting my journey through motorcycles, I guess. I'm not really trying to monetize the channel or make the kind of content, chase the algorithm, that kind of thing. That's not really what I'm trying to do. It's kind of just kind of just a way to leave a digital footprint of my journey through bikes and whatever. Scroll all the way down on the chat and see. Okay, 4 thousandths doesn't want to go in on that one, so that one's going to be really tight. So we're going to have to go down to 3 thousandths of an inch shim or feeler gauge. Let's see if that one will go in. Put some engine oil on it just to make sure it's not hanging up. And 3 thousandths went in pretty easily. I'm going to try 4 thousandths again just to make sure. Nope, 4 went in. 4 did go in, but kind of just barely. But we'll call that one 4 because 4 did go in. Like I said, sometimes it doesn't want to go in because of a weird angle or whatever. So just be patient with it, and make sure you're getting an accurate reading on these, because this is a very, very fine-tuned, very delicate procedure, and it's very, very important. Because what this bike had started to do was, when I would engine brake down in first gear, it was acting like the throttle was hanging open just a little bit, which to me says that the intake valves are staying open too long. And what that means is that the valve adjustment is due. Because basically, as time goes on, the valves will get tighter and tighter. They don't get looser, which is kind of a common misconception. But on bikes, the valves get tighter. And that's really for any kind of overhead cam engine. Generally speaking, the valves will get tighter. And then the valve's staying open too long. Then if you're really ragging on it, which on these sport bikes you are risking burning a valve. And this one's kind of being a bitch over here. So this one right here at this corner, of course, device orientation is locked. This one's kind of being a bitch right here, trying to get this in at the exact right angle to measure it. I might try from the other side. There we go. See, look at that. From the other side, it wants to go in a little easier. This is 4 thousandths in it. If you can see that. It doesn't want to go in, so we're going to grab the other one. I'll show y'all here exactly what I'm doing. It's kind of hard to look at the camera and look at what I'm doing at the same time. There we go. See how that slid in? That's what you're looking for. That one's 0.003 right there. Oh. Yeah, the valve adjustment on the ZX14 is gonna suck real bad. So I can show you all here real quick. This is where we're at right now. These are the measurements we have right now. Most of the sport bikes are twin spar frames. You got spars on either side, engines in the center. You just pull the fuel tank off right, and there you go. You can get to everything. Well, the ZX14, if you notice, you don't see any spars like you do on this bike. That's because it's not. The frame This is the frame right here, and it literally runs up like this and covers the whole thing. And the fuel tank lays against it. And the engine, of course, is up under here. But the frame is the airbox on this bike. Hey, what's up, Mr. Mime? Thanks for dropping in, man. The frame is the airbox. And so the intake ports for the throttle bodies, they have these rubber grommets that just meet up to it. And of course, you got your air ducts here. But to do the valve adjustment on this, your hands are between the engine and the frame. You can't see shit. So whenever this bike is due for the valve adjustment, I'm probably going to end up dropping the engine down just a little bit, just so that I can get in there easier. I had heard that the maintenance on the ZX14s was a little bit more of a pain in the ass than the other bikes, and I didn't really understand why until I looked into it. But for that bike, it's worth it. It's worth owning. It's a great bike. I love my ZX14. There we go. So we got all of our intake valves measured, and we got a couple of the exhausts. So we're going to continue measuring on the exhaust now. And we're going to be right in here on these. So there we go. That's kind of nice because you can actually see it pretty well here. Cam lobe is facing 12 o'clock to the engine. It's 12 o'clock to the engine, not 12 o'clock to the bike. And I think we're going to start with a 0.006. See what it's at? Oh, wait. It's easier actually to get it in from this side. Okay, 0.006 went in pretty easy. And 0.007 is really tight. We'll put a little bit of oil on the, losing the term here, feeler gauge. Put a little bit of oil on the feeler gauge, and it still doesn't want to go in, so that one's 0.006. And then we got the other one right up in here, and I can't quite get to it from that angle because of the cam ladder cap, which has the bearings and everything in it. Hopefully, depending on time, we might be able to get down to it and actually show you all taking the cam caps off and everything. Let's see, what time is it? I can't see the time on this phone, but we're 53 minutes into the live stream, and I started at 8, so we're almost 9 o'clock. We might have time. Okay, 0.006 went in really easily right there on that one. 0.007 went in. Go up to 8. Put a little bit of oil on our feeler gauge. Give it a nice easy chance to slide in. We'll see what I'm doing. And 8 does not want to slide in, so that is 0.007. Okay. We'll write that down. Let's check the chat real quick. Okay. Yeah, chat's not too active. Chat was a lot active last live stream. That's okay, though. All right. Which way do I need to go? Okay, other way. There we go. There we go. cam lobes. 12 o'clock to the engine. We'll see if we can get a 0.007 in on that one. I'll go for this side right here. 7 doesn't want to go in. Let's see. 0.06. Ooh, 6 is really tight, but 6 did go in. We'll call that 0.006, even though it was tight going in, because it did go in all the way. Sometimes they're going to be a little bit tighter going in, sometimes a little looser. Which one that was that one? 0.06. And the fun part is, after you do this, you take it all apart, you do the math, you get your new shims, put all that together, you get to measure it all again and make sure you did it right. I hear some of the prices that shops are charging for valve adjustments. I'm like, that does not seem like enough labor time. But a lot of times those are 15,000 mile checks, and the valves on these bikes really don't need adjusted until about like 25,000 until they start getting out. This bike has like 35,000 miles on it. Supposedly it had a new engine put in at 13,000, but I can't really verify if that's true or not. But you just want to get it. You want to get it before the valve, before you get to like a 0 lash. You don't want 0 lash, which is no clearance between the shim bucket and the cam. That's when you'll start wiping out a camshaft with that, because it's just constantly hammering that cam lobe. This one's having trouble going into. You wipe out a cam lobe, that's going to be expensive. Jesus, is this one really that tight? Because 5 doesn't want to go in. Let's see 4. Your clearance on the exhaust valves generally is going to be bigger than the intake side. Once we get all these measured, I'll show you what we got. Okay, there we go. 5 went in. It was just at a weird angle. Okay, 5 went in. I'm going to try again, see if I can get 6 in there. Can y'all see this? I think y'all can just barely see what I'm doing here. At least it's not the valves on a BMW K1600. I'm not familiar with that bike, but I imagine it would be, just given the fact that it's a BMW. Six. Did 6 go in? No, I can't. 6 is acting like it wants to start to go in, but I can't get it. Can't quite get it there. So we'll call that 5. All right, time to rotate the engine again. Oh. We'll start with 5 on this one. I'm gonna drop it. Screw there either. That we get for this side. You'll see that? I don't know if you'll see. I'll move the camera. When I got my 09, I called Kawi and gave them my VIN. They quoted me the engine number at the back of the engine by the tire. I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to. Maybe quoting the labor by what engine you had in it. Okay. 5 didn't quite want to go in on this one right here, so we'll try 4. 4 went in pretty easily. I'm going to try 5 again. Just to make sure. Yeah, that's 4. That's 4 thousandths. And that one. And then the other one here. Okay, 5 went in on that one. Six went in on that one. Dang, that's kind of crazy because these two on the same cylinder are going to be out quite a bit from each other. Okay, 7 won't go in. 6 went in, so that's 006. Okay. All right. So I'll get a new rag here. All right. Wipe my flashlight off, wipe my phone down. Here's our measurements. As you can see, they're pretty close, so this is one cylinder, this is the exhaust on the one cylinder, that's the intake. These two operate together, these two operate together, these two operate together, and so on. So you can see they're all pretty close to each other on the same cylinder, and generally they're all pretty close to within 1 or 2 thousandths of an inch, which is pretty good. You don't want to see a large variance between, 2 cam lobes on one cylinder, because that means you got some weird wear going on. But so this all looks good as a baseline reading here. So now, man, I really wanted to pull the throttle body out, but this thing is a bitch to get out of here. So I'm going to leave the throttle bodies assembly in. Now we get to disassemble everything. Before we do that, we want to mark. Oh, damn. You can't really see it very well on this bike. On my buddy 750, you could see the markings pretty well. I guess we'll have to mark. We'll have to mark the back side of the cam sprocket. So, but we'll find TDC on cylinder 1. We rotate it over. So let's get a screwdriver. This one might be too big. I don't have to remove your spark plug. Well, no, we don't, because we'll just look at the cam and crank sprocket markings once we pull that off. 3RZ FE Tacoma 0.008 to 12 intake. Interesting, it's the same as my Kyle. I need to check valve clearance on my bike, hence being here. Oh, okay, I gotcha. Well, hopefully you get something from this. It's a live stream, so it's not going to be distilled down to a quick video tutorial, unfortunately. But I mean, there are other tutorials on the internet that are distilled down so that you don't have to watch a friggin' 2-hour live stream or whatever. No go 50. Yeah, I'm not going to delete the live stream. No go 50. Don't worry about that. I'm going to keep it up. This time, I made sure to tape off any doxing material I had in my shop. I taped off the license plates, and I remember I had a pile of mail one time, and I flashed the camera over it real quick, and it had some information on it. I had to delete that live stream. So, okay, starter's right here, which that's part of that. So we may have to remove the starter. So I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the battery cable first before we do that. So we got a pile of these right here. Let me just set the phone down. There. Okay. Set these somewhere safe. Put them up here on this cart. Wipe all these off. I like to try to keep things as clean as possible. As you can probably see from my shop, I don't try to be boastful, but I am pretty proud of how clean I keep my shop. I can't stand having a cluttered, dirty workspace. As you can see, my shop is pretty clean. Try to keep it as clean as possible. But it still is a shop, so we still got, you know, shelves full of shit, but that's okay. It's a shop. I just keep the floor as clean as I can. And man, that's one thing. See all these cracks in the concrete? You know, the floor coating kind of covers it up. Excuse me, covers it up. But if any of y'all are going to have a building put up with concrete, make sure you ask the concrete contractors to mix fiberglass in with it, because it cuts down on the surface cracks so much. And I didn't know about that beforehand. And so I had the main slab for the building here poured. And I mean, even with the floor coating, you can see all the surface cracks. It's just surface cracks. It's nothing structural. I mean, it's fine. But they came later and poured the the driveway slab. And you can see the difference out here. Whoo, it's going to be cold. They mixed fiberglass in. Make sure I don't lock myself out. They mixed fiberglass in with this out here. You can see I got one right there. One little one there. But when they mix the fiberglass in with the concrete, it really cuts down on the surface cracks like a lot. I mean, you can see out in the main area, there's like no cracks or anything. And some of the contractors will tell you about it. Some of them won't. But it was like an extra $300. That was it. On top of a, you know, fucking whatever this cost. I don't even remember what this driveway cost. It was insane. Thousands of dollars, of course. Fiber mesh. Yes, Pitchfork. I guess that's correct. You would know better than me since you worked in the concrete union. But yeah, it definitely, if you're having concrete poured, definitely ask them to put the fiberglass in with it. All right, so sorry for that side tangent. There we go. Okay. So I'm just gonna disconnect the negative cable on the back battery right now. So we might have to disconnect the starter. And what I usually do is I'll put a rag over the terminal because sometimes the cable will move and make contact again later. Ask me how I know. So just like that, put a rag over the terminal to separate it. That way you make absolutely certain you don't get any accidental contact with battery cable. All right. Oh, I need this impact here. Let me get a different impact to stand my phone up on. Is that good? Can y'all see? I should be able to see there. That's going to be kind of in the way a little bit. Oh, I'm going to have to undo that. Get that out of the way there. These little clips here. Sometimes it's easiest to get a pair of needle nose pliers and squeeze the end to undo them so you don't destroy them. Those kind of clips like that. Squeeze in with a pair of needle nose pliers. All right, I'm going to take this starter cover off here first. And if the bolts have a specific spot you don't want to lose them, some of these have copper washers on them to seal oil. So I think these are all the same length. But what I'm going to do is, does this work? Okay, that center punch works. It's right here on the outside. It's going to punch a mark. Those are the ones that have the copper washers. Let's see how easy this cover wants to pop off. Is it coming? Looks like it's coming. Okay. Gotta be very careful with these aluminum covers. Definitely don't want to break. I need a thinner screwdriver than that. Definitely don't want to break them. And there's my battery cable cover. Put that over there. I hope at least somebody enjoys watching these. I don't know. If one person enjoys watching it, then it's worth it, I suppose. But, you know, it's not that hard for me to just set up a camera. Just set up a camera and talk a little bit, I guess, at work. As I work on cars, we started doing these video MPIs for the customer, video multi-point inspections for the customers recently. So I got a lot better at talking to the camera lately, so it's not that hard for me to just turn the camera on and talk. All right. So it looks like there's a dowel or a shaft or something that this cover's riding on. So when you're pulling something off like this and you're not certain if there's something behind it that's going to fall out, just be easy with it. Pull it out slowly. And there we go. Okay, nothing crazy. It looks like this has an actual mesh gasket. So this is just the starter. So this shouldn't need any marking for any gears or alignment or anything like that. That should just slide off and then slide back on in whatever position. It should be okay. So go. Okay. And I always like to do it, pull it off, put it down like that. Shoot. The side that goes towards the engine or whatever goes down. That's how I like to do it. That's how I've always done it. And but it would be kind of hard to mess this up anyway because you got gears that mesh back on this side. So it's okay. All right, so maybe we don't have to take the starter out. Hopefully not. Pitchfork. I always like to know what I'm getting into before I do an actual job myself. Tacoma had to pull engine apart. Want to see the Kawi job before I do it. I got you, man. Well, I appreciate you coming in here and watching. Okay, so coming back down now. And I wonder, can I set this up back here so y'all can see a little better what I'm doing? There we go. Look at that. That's better. Being creative with putting an angle on the camera and everything. All these bolts here. It's going to put with this cover for the starter right there. Always keep your bolts together with whatever you take off. I'll rearrange here a little bit, move some stuff out of the way. Let's go there. And again, when you take some of these out, some of these bolts are different lengths on these covers, especially on the motorcycles for whatever reason. So what I like to do is pop them loose, leave them where they're at. We got one bolt inside here. Okay, so they're all loose, right? Pull them out one at a time. See if they're all the same length. If they're all the same length, you can just throw them in a pile. So we got one that is a different length. It's a shorter one, and it goes in the center there. So that'll be easy to remember. So we'll just pop that. We'll throw those in a pile on their own. This clutch cable's kind of in the way, so I'm going to take it loose. That away. There we go. And I'll set those on their own because those will. Or no, I can just stick these right back in right here. And we'll remember that these go right here. Ah, shit, well that just broke. Yep, that's the shitty thing about old bikes. Anything rubber is just gonna fucking snap. But that's just a little cable sheath. That's not that big a deal. That could be broken off and just stay off. So whatever. But I may super glue that back later. I don't know. Working on this old stuff, you're gonna need definitely need some super glue handy. For sure. Okay. So I'm gonna pull this foam piece out right here. It was back behind there. And be careful when you're prying against these covers, especially like if you're prying on a cover that's aluminum. If you put too much force, you're gonna crack it. But right back here, I'm gonna be prying against the block. Still wanna be easy on it, but it's okay. Give it a, just give it a little bit of a feel. Don't be too hard on it. That popped. Pop loose at the top first. Then we're going to go down to the bottom. I have a feeling that oil is going to start pouring out of here, so I need to move some of this stuff and get a tray on here. So there's oil going everywhere. Just give me just a second with that. Our handy dandy tray right here. I love these trays. They're like $40 at O'Reilly's or something. I can show y'all here in just a second whenever I get all this stuff situated here. And this foam piece, I'll just stick right up there. It's fine. Go. I'll show you all that real quick. That way it catches any oil. Hey, no problem, Pitchfork. I just hope it's not too boring to sit through all this. Try to talk and give some kind of commentary, whether it's interesting or not, just so you're not watching whatever, listening to dead air while I'm working on something. So okay. Pry very easy here at the bottom. There we go. That came loose. See? There we go. And what you're going to have here, oh, something just fell out. That's what that was. That was another thing. Be careful because shit's going to fall out. Like this pin here, that's the alignment pin for the other cover. It fell out. So be careful with stuff like that. See those alignment dowels right there? There's one there. And I guess the other one is going to be this centerpiece here where that goes onto the starter. And there's an O-ring up there. We'll have to replace that or either put a little bit of anaerobic sealer around it. So anyway, so here we are. Okay. But yeah, just be careful with these aluminum covers. You're prying them off. Okay, so you'll see what I'm doing. I'll do it with that hand. So I've never taken this stuff apart before. I'm just going in here to take. This is all looks like it's part of the starting mechanism. So that's, turn this over. I'm just going to stick this one up here because that one goes right there. And yeah, this is part of the starter here. Okay. Yeah, it looks like this. See, check that out. It doesn't go one way, but it goes the other way. There's probably a, what kind of clutch is that? Sprag clutch, I think it's called. It's got these little bearings in there. Okay. So we got our crank sensor down here. I'm going to pull that out. Just to give us extra room. Oh, that's an 8mm also. Be careful when you pull, because they got these rubber grommets right here. There's the gasket coming off. I'm going to use High Lamar, which is a specific sealant to seal this stuff back up when I go back together. These gaskets are like fucking stupid expensive, but I typically would use RTV silicone, but I found High Lamar is a better sealant. Ed be trolling and oh, hey, August. What's up, man? Man, I hope you're doing okay after, 750, Brian told me you took a spill on your ZX6. I'm sorry to hear about that, man. That sucks. But I hope you're doing okay, man. See these here? When you put these back together, if you're going to be reusing the old sensor or whatever, just put some sealant around it, just so and you can see there already is some there from the factory. Otherwise, it's going to leak. There we go. Okay, there we go. And that connects onto the oil pressure switch down here. I had made this bullet connector. I'd use this bullet connector for the oil pressure switch to make it easy to come off, but the heat from the headers just friggin' melted it together. So now I gotta do it the hard way. Take it off like this. Take it off with the Phillips screw again. So the bolts for the crank sensor will just sit right there. Sit that up there. All right, so now we're looking at trying to look at this stuff and figure out how this stuff goes together. So, because I've never had one of these bikes apart before. The Suzuki's a little less complicated. We got this. This is the starter gear. This is the crank sprocket attaches to the crankshaft, and we got our timing chain going up here to the cam sprockets, and that runs the cam sprockets. So there should be timing marks. The Suzuki had the timing marks that was easy to see, but this shit is this is different. This stuff is a little bit. I don't really see the timing marks anywhere. I'm just gonna rotate it over and see if I can see anything. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. Man, this is a little bit. This might be more difficult than ZX6 or the Gixxer 750 that I had. Take this dowel pin out right here so I don't lose it because it was going to pop out anyway. Okay, all right, there we go. There's one. Okay, let's take a look here. Let me show you. There's our timing mark on the crank sprocket. And it's going to correlate to some marks up here. So I'm going to go ahead and take that cover off the top and see if I can see the cam marks up at the top. Typically, it's going to be the crank, the marks, you know, the crank sprocket mark. It might be going. It might be going about 3 or 9 o'clock up, which is going to be upwards, of course. And then, but typically the camshaft sprocket marks are going to be at 12 o'clock. So I might have to take a look in the service manual here for just a second. Probably should have done that beforehand. This is just this is like a secondary guide for the camshaft. Yes, it's a 2007 ZX6R. 599cc engine. It is not a 636. Oh, okay. All right, I'm gonna take a look from the other side now. Okay. So I'm gonna have to. Here's on. I'm gonna set. Knock on the door. I'm gonna set the mirror so that I can see from the opposite side because the markings are coming from this side, and I got to rotate the engine from this side here. Okay. See what I'm doing here? There we go, that's better. So basically I'm rotating the engine over right now, and I'm looking for the markings on the cam sprockets as it rotates over. I see something on one side, on this other side. There we go. Okay, I see the markings now. I think those are the markings because that should have been one full rotation. So, yeah, so, okay. I'm going to rotate it over once more and then double check, and then I'll show you all what I'm looking at here. So that's what I think is the marking there. Take a look over here. It's just saying that's the intake. Again. Okay, no markings. Same thing, okay. I'm gonna keep going back around one more time. I should be pretty close to top dead center here. So this is not going to be like a quick tutorial video, but this is more of what you would call a stream of consciousness. Consciousness? Conscience? Consciousness? However you say that. Did we lose everybody? No, we still got some people in. Okay. So that's about at 9 o'clock, like I had said. It'd be 9 or 3, depending on whatever manufacturer you have. That's typically how they do it. Now, what's funny is you see that IN and EX? This is intake side over here, and this is exhaust side. So these are backwards. What the fuck? But anyway, I need to rotate it just a hair, but you want those lines pointing straight up. And that's where I'm going to put the paint marks. So, and I'm going to put the paint marks and then I'm going to mark it on the chain. So I'm going to rotate it just a hair. Just a hair more. Just one more hair. There. Okay. So now we got our marks pointing up, straight up, which in this is just generally with Japanese manufacturers, straight up is that's top dead center. Man, that's really tripping me out though. Like, what the fuck? That's clearly marked EX is exhaust. That's clearly marked IN intake. But obviously this is the exhaust side. Obviously this is the intake side. I'm really starting to think somebody actually was in here before and did a little oopsie. So, oof. Okay. But for whatever reason, the motorcycle manufacturers do not like to make markings on the timing chain. I work on Infinities for a living, and they all have markings on the timing chains, but the motorcycles do not. So I'll show you what I'm going to do here. I'm going to make my own markings on the timing chain so I know exactly where things came off. Pitchfork, yes, I do have a service manual. I have it in a PDF, but I have not looked at it yet at all. This is just kind of how I do things. So you see that line, that dot corresponds to that tooth on the sprocket. It's right in the center there. So we're going to mark right in the center between those two is where that sprocket goes. And we're just going to do this as well. Get those two little links with a paint marker too. Just get that nice and marked up there, so we know that's where that one goes. And then for this one, that tooth goes to an actual link. Mark that one. That goes here. And I like to do, here's the thing, you can look at the service manual, and it'll tell you, put the markings at this spot. It'll say, put the markings at 12 o'clock to the engine. 12 o'clock to the engine. Put the cam markings there, and then it'll say, put the crank marking at 9 o'clock. And then just put the timing chain on and fucking hope it's right. I don't like doing that. I like knowing exactly what link the timing chain came off of. So that's why I make my marks. So I'm going to double check everything here. And we're all good. But at least I got I have a video record of what I did now, just in case I have any questions. I'll go back later and just look at the live stream. So I got oil on my mirror. Damn it. Y'all see the bike? There we go. Okay. And this thing, when you torque it down, I'm going to pull that out. I'm going to pull that out just so it doesn't get lost. It's another freaking alignment dowel. And that one goes right there on that gear. There we go. Stuck it there. We're good. Okay. I'm just going to use an impact to pull this off, because it's going to be on there, and I don't want to have to use a tool to hold. Typically what you'll have to do is there'll be a special tool or whatever, and you'll hold the camshafts while you break the crank bolt loose by hand. But I don't want to do all that. I am going to torque it back down properly when I go back together with it. So I will have to get some way to hold that on. Or you can just take an impact and run it on, but you kind of got to know, if you're going to do that, you got to know what size of impact to use and when to stop so you don't strip it out or break the head off the bolt or something like that. But I'm going to show you the proper way to do this the improper way, if that makes sense. You're not supposed to do this, but I'm going to show you how to do it so you know how to do it. You know how to do the wrong thing the right way. So I'm going to use a 1/2 inch. And torques are kind of particular in how you do it. You got to use a lot of forward pressure when you break it loose. Otherwise, because the Torx bolt likes to skip around, and then you might damage the bolt or whatever. But I also don't want the crank to move when I do this, so I'm going to use something to hold that while I put the impact on that. So, our trusty jaws here, and I don't want to damage anything, so we're going to use a rag. but you got to be careful when you do this because you're messing with your gears here. One more, so I got a good grip on it. You see what I'm doing? Yeah, you can see what I'm doing. Okay. Oh shit, we started to slip off there. Okay, I think we got a good grip there. If I fuck this up, it's gonna be fucked up on live stream. Here we go. Got it. And there you go. There's your crank bolt loose. And we'll see the starter mechanism back here when we take it apart. I'm kind of interested to see. I'm pretty sure it's a sprag clutch. Crank bolt. Check that out. Check out how that works. That's pretty neat, isn't it? Because the starter is going to want to crank this over. It cranks the engine over that way. But whenever it stops, it needs to be able to kick back without damaging anything. So it slides one way to kick back, and then it can crank that way. So anyway, let's go back. There. Now, okay, no, this has a keyway here. So I don't need to mark this because you can see the one spline that's larger. So I can just pull that off and we're good. And now we can see our marks on the crankshaft. And same thing like we did with the camshafts. I'm gonna mark it with a pen. I gotta take a look here and see exactly which ones I want to mark, because these are a little bit weird. So yeah, this is because it's got like two sets of rocket teeth here. So I'm gonna wipe some of the oil off of this too. And actually what I'm gonna do for this is I'm gonna scratch marks on it with a pick or a screwdriver, just so I know 100% certain, just in case the paint wipes off. I'll do that up top too, scratch marks on it. So there. Do I have yeah, I do have an electric etcher. It's a shitty Harbor Freight electric etcher, but I got one. I'm gonna scroll through here. No keyway at all? Not really. No, I don't. There was the keyway for the sprag clutch for the starter, but I guess that's the keyway. I guess that would be the keyway, but not in the traditional sense, because it looks like on this bike Yeah, this bike, yeah, okay, that's interesting. That was an interesting point you brought up there because check it out. The timing chain rides directly on the crankshaft on this bike. The teeth, the sprocket is like machined into the crankshaft. I've never seen that before. So that's pretty interesting right there. So yeah, no, there's not really a crank sprocket. There's a sprocket for the starter gears and the starter mechanism, but there's not really a crank sprocket. So that's interesting. All right, let me run my electrical cord over here real quick, and then I will etch my marks. Oh, cable's getting tied up over here. Drop it either. One Ford I worked on didn't. That's why I asked Toyota pretty good about keyways and having different shaped connectors. Right. Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah, I know. Like some of the Mazda Miatas didn't have keyways on the crank sprocket. And that was a timing belt motor, so that shit kind of sucked. But or no, excuse me, not the Mazda Miata. It was the Mazda CX-9. One of the techs in a shop I was at years ago had a Mazda CX-9, and he took it apart and was like, "Oh shit, there's no keyway on the crankshaft." So that was fun. So got our little Dremel here. We're just gonna etch our marks. Okay. You can see our etched marks there, so we know for certain exactly where the timing chain's going. 9973 with a plastic under the valve covers. Most of my Ford experience on V8 diesels. Triton V8. I haven't really worked. Y'all are probably talking amongst yourselves, but I haven't really worked on 7.3s very much. A little bit of Triton diesel, or not Triton. Triton's not a diesel. Excuse me. Okay. I think I might go ahead and etch the ones on top as well. I think I'm going to do that. Okay, and I'll show y'all Etching I did there too. Triton, the engine was a dumpster fire of a design. I know the spark plugs were really fun on that engine. So y'all can see on this side, because that that tooth kind of went between two. You see how I did that mark? I made a circle on the two links that it goes between, and then I etched on the sprocket, and then on this one, that link goes to an actual link. So I just etched both of those. Excuse me. All right, so I got to run to the bathroom real quick. I will be back in like just a minute. All right, back. Y'all still here? Yeah, y'all are still here. Yeah, sorry. Oh, no, it's no problem, man. Side conversation. All good. I'm just trying to determine who's talking to me and who's talking to each other in the chat. Plug change equals head removal and machine shop. Yeah, if you didn't use the chemical, if you didn't get the chemical and the special tool to get those plugs out of the Triton, you were in for a world of pain. Okay, where was I? So we got our marks on the timing chain and the sprockets. So now we can take the timing chain tensioner loose. Timing chain tensioner on this motor and on a lot of them is right in here. So we're going to take the center bolt loose, which actually has the I'm trying to orient the camera so y'all can see. There we go. That's it, right? That's not working. Let's change the camera around. This is the timing chain tensioner right in here, and on most of the bikes, it's going to be kind of in this location towards the engine. We may pull it all the way out. We may not. It might be best just to pull it all the way out, so we know it's not. Or no, I don't think we need to. We'll see. I'm just going to pull that because this actually has the adjuster in there on the center. I'm just going to pull that first, and that's a 12 millimeter. Should be 12. Find out in just a second. See what I'm doing here. Be careful because these are spring loaded. Okay. Let's see. And it's got that washer on there. Sometimes you can reuse those, but sometimes you may need to sand them back down flat because they'll get the little grooves in them and then they'll leak oil. See right there, there's the spring. But we're just going to go ahead and take that tensioner all the way out because I kind of want to replace that with a manual tensioner anyway, because the auto tensioner is kind of a piece of shit on this bike. Never seen these wrenches before. These are really nice to have. Cornwell makes them. Easy Red makes them. Ratcheting flex head with the offset. Really nice to have, especially for things like this where you're getting in a tight spot like that. And before you pull the tensioner out, you want to take that center, and actually, I'm just going to move this radiator hose back. This radiator hose is kind of in the way. You want to take that center bolt out because it will release the tension. And I'm going to get my electric ratchet in there. Gear wrench also, yes, I believe Gear Wrench does also make those. This wiring harness is fucking hella in the way on this bike right here. Could be worse though. Could be worse. And sometimes these are going to be kind of stuck in here, so you can kind of just rotate it a little bit. It seals on an O-ring until you can grasp an edge. Get both fingers on it and then pull it back like that. Just pull it back. See what I mean there? Rotate it until you can get your finger on the edge of it and then pull it back. I have one hinge tool manufacturer shoving more shit into smaller places. Yes, exactly, Pitchfork. Pitchfork, where do you work, or in what field rather? It seems like you have kind of a lot of experience with cars and whatnot. I work on Infinities. Okay. And there's our timing chain tensioner. And when you see how the spring is a lot further down now, it's because it ratcheted it out. Ratcheted out. So the way that you reset these, and this is generally going to be the same on a lot of engines, just like that. So what you can do is you can take the spring and the plunger out from this side, and then push it back in like that, and then when you put the so that it's all the way in, right? And then when you put the center bolt back in, tensions it back out, so your timing chain's tensioned. So that's for easy installation purposes, basically. So that's nice. Okay. So that's our timing chain tensioner out. Let's see, automotive and remodeling construction. I'm 56, been doing it since I was 6. Damn. Yeah, you got quite a bit of experience then. That's awesome, though. Bet you can do quite a bit of stuff. All right, so our timing chain tensioner's out, and now you can see basically that tensioner, this guide. Put this radiator hose back up out of the way. I don't fucking remember where it was at now. Where was this at? I'm pretty sure it goes up under there like that. Anyway. Pushes against this guide, runs all the way up here. And then the tensioner pushes on that to tension up the timing chain. And maybe you can see that from the top now. Not really. Anyway. So, man, this engine's more complicated than the Suzuki. Because this guide looks like it's fucking locked in here. Or maybe it comes... I don't know. Looks like this engine's a bit more complicated than the other bikes. I wonder if this just pulls out. Let's see. Ah, look at that. Look at that. Okay. Can we get it? Can it come out? I don't know that we want to do that. It might make it more difficult later, but I've already kind of fucked myself. I already kind of got it out a little bit, didn't I? With two hands, I'm pretty sure I can get it back in, but I'm just one-handing it right now. It doesn't look like it wants to come out, though. Let's see. It's kind of jammed in there. Wait, let's see. Can we get it? I may be causing more problems for myself by trying to pull that out than I should be doing. Let's just see. Let's see how we're going to handle this here. As a general rule, if you can leave something where it is, that's typically better. I kind of screwed up there trying to pull it out. There we go. Okay, so I got it back behind there. So we're just going to kind of do this. I'll show you. We're just going to leave it loose. Just going to leave it loose in there. And actually, we need to take this guide off too to get it out. It looks like a T30. That is, that might be bigger than T. No, it's a T30. And with Torx, stuff like this, I always like to put, you got it in there, put some forward pressure like that. So you don't strip out the head on the bolt, because these are in there tight. And if you strip out the head on that bolt, you're in for a world of pain then, because then you got to drill the bolt out, drill the stud out, and get it out that way. And, you don't want to do it. So when you're breaking loose a Torx, and especially a tight Torx like this in a very critical spot, push forward with your other hand to make sure the socket stays seated in there properly. I don't really like Torx fasteners as a general rule. You're wrong with this son of a bitch. So I'm going to keep these together right here. There's our pins. So we'll keep those together right there. Pins for the guides. And this guide is, man, that's tight in there. That one's pretty tight. It doesn't really want to move around a lot. I'm going to assume that the other side of that is bolted in up here somewhere. So I'm going to take a look. No, it's kind of just shoved. It's kind of shoved between the block and the cylinder head, and it kind of just sits there. Ooh. Careful. All right, so I'll try to get the chain off now. But actually, we probably don't need to take it loose from the crankshaft. Maybe we just need to maybe we can just get it loose from the cams up here. But it's pretty tight on the cams up here too. I think we need to get it off at the crankshaft. But man, is it fucking tight down here. So we're just gonna kind of, hopefully you can see what I'm doing. God damn. Let's see. Can I bend that just a little bit? I think I can bend that. Be careful when you're bending this plastic shit. Okay. It's not really wanting to go. We got the one guide loose, but this one's not really wanting to come down. So actually, now that I'm looking at this, how is that going to slide off there at all? Look at this. Okay. This is part of the casting on the block. No, I guess there's room for that to slide off. You just got to get the right angle. Got to get the right angle to get it to slide off. So okay, we're gonna try putting a screwdriver in on the one side. On this side, while we get a pick on the other side and try to pull it off. I'm just checking the chat here. So, screwdriver right there. That section will stay up out of the way. Nope, that's not gonna work. All right, stick another screwdriver through there. There we go. Hopefully that stays there. Gotta get it at just the right freaking angle. Get the chain off. Man, what a fucking beating. Moral of the story, it looks like Suzuki's less complicated than Kawasaki.
got it kind of coming off on one side. So sorry guys, this is a little bit boring, but this is what wrenching is sometimes. You get stuck in a spot and you gotta figure out how to get around it. This is just raw video of wrenching right here.
Man, there's got to be an easier way. There's got to be a way to like freaking get this chain off the camshaft. Chain does not want to come off the camshaft.
And they really fucking jammed this thing in here.
Oh, the music stopped. Yeah, I'm surprised y'all are still here. If I could just get this other tensioner off on this side, or not tensioner, this chain guide. Ah, fuck, goddamn, my finger hurts. It'd be a lot easier. But that's just fucking like wedged between the block. Ah! Will that help? I'll find out. Hopefully I don't break the guide pulling on it like this. And it's this one spot right down here at the bottom that's being a bitch. Fuck, it doesn't look like it's gonna slide past it. No. I ain't gonna slide past it. Well, that sucks. All right, so I'm actually going to look at the service manual now. I was hoping to get all this done in one freaking live stream, but I don't know. It's getting kind of late. I may call it and look at the service manual. I think that's what I'm going to do actually, because this is where I'm at right here. Is you know, the chain won't, because this is mold. This is cast into the block, and the chain just won't slip past it. So yeah, I'm going to leave it where it's at. I'm going to actually look at the service manual and see where we're at instead of just carrying on like this. It's probably boring, just me trying to raw figure it out, muscle through it. And then I'm going to come back. I'm not going to do any more work until I live stream again, and then I'll live stream further. But basically what we're doing at this point is we're getting the timing chain off. We're getting the timing chain off, and then these the cam ladder caps. This is one assembly, and this is one assembly, and their bearings are here. The bearings are bearing, quote unquote. It's molded into the caps and molded into the head, and that's the surface that the camshafts ride on. And then once we get the timing chain off, we can pull these off and pull the camshafts out, and then pull our buckets, do our measuring and whatnot, and then we can order our shims and go from there. So yeah, I'm not going to do any more work. I'm going to dig in the service manual a little bit more and kind of figure out a little bit more if there's a special procedure for that to come off or not. So I'm not just sitting here muscling through it. But yeah, I appreciate you all guys dropping in and watching. You know, it's kind of means a lot to me that somebody wants to come in here and even watch for just a couple of minutes, see what's going on. But yeah, this is. I don't know if other mechanics will take the bike down this far, but to me, it's not that much work. You know, this is basic stuff. Pull the fairings off, gas tank, air box, all that stuff has to come off anyway. But then you pull the radiator, and this is the kind of an inner wind deflector. You pull that stuff out, and that gives you extra access to it. Just so you got some extra access in here to work with. It really helps you there. You got to drain the cooling system, of course, all that. Shouldn't have to drain the oil to do this. But yeah, so far this is what we're working with here. And I can show you all the other bikes. Just show you what's going on with them. The Ducati is kind of a showpiece right now. I took it off the insurance since I got the Gixxer. Just kind of sits here, kind of keeping it as an investment at this point because it may go up in value. Plus, it's just nice to look at. I mean, just look at that. It's so beautiful. It's a nice piece of shop art. And this is Maddie's bike over here, the CBR 250. She's been through a lot. There's my mop. She's been through quite a bit. It's gonna need a chain and sprocket. Look how nasty that is. Look at those. Look at that. It really needs a new chain and sprocket setup. The chain's not horrible. It's not the end of the world, but it ain't great. Didn't even have a front sprocket cover, but look at this. Look at this. Look at that movement. You can see I put washers there already to kind of. I don't think that's supposed to do that, guys. Yeah, these fairings are unpainted. So basically they were white. They're white unpainted, and they just get continually bleached by the sun, and they start stress cracking and turning yellow and all that good stuff. But this bike's been through the ringer, but it's a survivor, man. It keeps going. It takes the abuse and keeps going. If there's one thing a CBR 250 is good at, it's getting dropped over and over and over again, and just continually surviving. my little nook. The Jicks are waiting for the ECU to come back. Two-wheel dyno work should have gotten the ECU. It said it was delivered on Friday. Did Goat axe the lives? Excuse me. I don't know. I think he's doing it only on a couple days a week right now. Or maybe not. Maybe he's doing it every night. But I think this is cutting into his live stream right now, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to end it in just a minute. But yeah, Gixxer, just a great overall bike. Just so easy. So easy to work on. So simple. They still look good too. It's the Newport. Getting the trim on it. Getting the trim put back together on it. See, it's starting to go back on, and I got these pieces here. You got to be very freaking careful with this. You can see right here, I got this piece back on. You got to be so careful snapping these pieces back on and taking them off. It took hours and hours to get these off because they'll dent very easily. You can see one of them has a dent in it somewhere. This one has a ding. That was from the other side coming out. But yeah, the trim pile on this thing is it's slowly going away. And Maddie helped me. She polished a lot of the trim for me. So thanks, Maddie. I appreciate it. It was a big help. This is the old trim for the rear windshield. That's going away. I got another trim set that's better. I still got to polish. These pieces are going on. These are for the two front doors, windshield wipers. But what was I going to show you? Oh yeah, under here. I have the trim sets for the front and rear windshields are under here. So those are going to go on. Paint's not perfect. There's some weird shit in some areas on it, but whatever. It was kind of a screwed up deal. But I got the car back now, so that's good. And the 351 Cleveland engine. This is going in a 73 Ranchero. I had the machinist machined everything, and I'm doing. Can you see there we go. See that plastic gauge mark right there? I'm measuring because I had to send the main bearings were good. I had to plastic gauge the main bearings. They were a little bit tight, but you can see it spins like glass. Spins nicely. So he said it was okay to run it, but I had to send the rod bearings back to him, and he had to hone out the inside a little bit more. And there's the bearings. I got to refit it, replastic gauge it, make sure it's all within spec. The rod bearings and the main bearings are going to be just a little bit on the tight end for spec, but he said that's okay, just so long as I'm going to measure, put it all together, and then I have a beam style torque wrench to measure the resistance, the spinning resistance of it. And as long as that's all good, it should be good to go. And then here's a pile of parts over here. This car's been apart for a couple of years now. There's all the old parts. There's the old camshaft. You can see a couple of the cam lobes got wiped out on it. Oh, actually, I can show you. What will happen if you don't do the valve adjustment on your motorcycle. Because it happened on this. It started to wipe out a cam lobe. Here's the old camshaft I pulled out of that engine. Where is it? One of these lobes was wiped out. Starting to. I'll have to rotate it over for a second and find it. Well, it wasn't wiped out, but you can see where the wear was starting to happen. See right there? Starts to eat into it, and then eventually this lobe will just flatten off, and then it won't be opening the valve correctly anymore. The Corvette, nothing's wrong with the Corvette. I just don't drive it very much anymore, but LS1 Gen 1 cam heads, intake, exhaust, full exhaust tune, of course, with all that. It's just a good, reliable car. I keep it on the battery tender, and it's just there ready for me whenever I need it. Stuff doesn't really break on it. Probably needs a new couple of front tires. Oh. Yeah, I had some hydrographics done on these pieces here. And then I had the center console and the centerpiece here done up in suede. Looks really nice. I had the A-pillars done in suede too. Yeah. It's starting to show its age a little bit. You see the leather's starting to crack there some. I had to touch this up with shoe polish here. But, overall, the leather's in good shape. This car is a 99. So this car's, 26 years? God damn. Where'd the time go? The car's 26 years old now. And, it's got some cosmetic defects in the paint on the rear bumper. I need to pull this rear bumper off, get it repainted properly at some point. But that's just the rear bumper. The rest of the car is in good shape. The front tires, I swear, those are like over 10 years old at this point. I think I put them on in like 2013. Let's check the DOT date on these. Yep. Second week of 13 is when these tires were manufactured. So these are old as shit. And you can feel it. This thing kind of steers a little wonky, but I don't drive it that much, and I don't feel like replacing the tires yet, but it's going to be time soon. I'm going to try to find a couple of used tires for it. I got the seats and the door panels for the Newport here. So pretty. Nice teal color. All the glass is under here. Glass and trim for the inside on the windshields. That's you see that green there? Those are the trim pieces for the windshield on the inside. Yeah. I'm really happy with what I got going on. I'm very thankful for being able to have this shop and all these toys, and I know I'm very fortunate to be able to have this, so that doesn't go unnoticed. Even though not rich or anything, but I do have quite a few toys, and I got a wonderful wife, Maddie. So anyway, I think that's it. I'm not going to ramble on too much more. But anyway, thank you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching it. I really appreciate it. And I will post up. I'll make another community post, whenever it's time to do part 2 on the valve adjustment. I'll make sure I look in the service manual so we know where we're going. And that's all. So take care, guys, and have a good night. I will see y'all next time in part 2. Bye-bye.